Hi, Aries, and welcome to your April 2024 horoscope. April has a lot going on, if you didn't hear yet. We have the Sun and Venus zooming right past Aries, and by the end of the month, both being in the sign of Taurus. We also have Mars conjuncting Saturn and Neptune all in this 1 month. And then, of course, we cannot forget the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction as well. So there's a lot going on in this month, but let's get into the day by day so you can understand a little bit more of what you can expect. On April 3rd, Venus conjuncts Neptune in your 12th house. It might feel like a very dreamy and loving day. And because it's in your 12th house, it might be that you're directing that energy more internally rather than towards others. You might be compassionate and loving a little bit more easily to yourself. Because this is in a very internal house for you, Aries, be careful that there aren't any disillusions that you're really allowing yourself to fester upon and perhaps getting a really different picture of reality when actually it's quite different from what you have been imagining in your mind. So just my word of advice would be try to find moments during your day that you can also step outside of this dreamy, beautiful energy and also get in touch again with the real world. On April 5th, Venus enters your first house, and right as it enters your first house, it also sextiles Pluto in your 11th house. So from April 5th onwards, you might feel like yourself a bit more. You might be sort of going out into the world and really enjoying how you look. You feel like your clothes are sitting better, your makeup or your hair is on point, and maybe even others are noticing you a lot more as well. And because it's sextiling Pluto in your 11th house, it's almost as if your friendships and really solidifying and deepening the friendships that you have are in a way helping you to become even more your radiant self and to really show up authentically as well. So all of the really beautiful, deep, meaningful connections you're seeking with your friendships are sort of making it easier for you to be yourself. On April 8th, we have a solar eclipse in your first house. So this is one of the big events of April. And it's an interesting solar eclipse, especially for you, Aries, because it's in such a prominent house for you. This eclipse, which is actually a new moon, so the sun and the moon are both in your first house, but this eclipse is in the decan that's ruled by the sun. So it's possible that during this solar eclipse, the actions that we're carrying out are more motivated by ego rather than a genuine desire or a genuine need for connection and improvement. Usually I don't cover Mercury during these monthly horoscopes just because I find Mercury moves quite fast. So I don't get into it that much. But one thing to note during this solar eclipse is that Mercury will be retrograde. So it's possible that during this solar eclipse, also the things that we are saying are being misinterpreted or not understood in the right way that we mean to. And since it's in your first house, Aries, it could be a really monumental moment for you. So be attentive to what's happening, and especially if there's any major decision or any major action that you take that really alters who you are as an individual, really alters your identity and how you show up in the world. On April 10th, Mars is conjunct Saturn in your 12th house. So this is two benefics that are coming together, or two less good planets coming together, although no planets are good or bad. However, it might feel during this day that there's a bit of friction and a bit of this inability to get things going. Mars is the planet of action. It likes to start things, do things. And Saturn can slow things down, can ask you to be patient, put in a lot of work over a long period of time to get to where you want to go. So there can be planets that are quite on the opposite ends of this spectrum. And for you, because this is in your 12th house, there might be something within your internal world that you're feeling like, okay, I'm ready to make a step towards improving this. I'm ready to start up a new affirmations practice, or I'm ready to start journaling regularly. All of these things are ways that we can take care of our inner world and our mind. But because Saturn is there, it might make this action a little bit difficult to get off the ground. And you might really need to remember that you don't have to start the ground running as long as you keep showing up day after day, that over time you will see the benefits of the practice. On April 17th, Venus is conjunct the North Node in your first house. So during the solar eclipse on the 8th of April, we had the Sun and the Moon conjunct the nodes. And since then, Venus has slowly been making its way also towards the nodes, and it finally reaches them on April 17th. So in a way, I do see April 17th as a bit of a gentler follow-up to perhaps what could have been happening during the solar eclipse, or a decision or an action that you took during the solar eclipse. Because this way Venus is sort of hitting the nodes again, and it's in a way sort of re-triggering that same theme. Finally, on April 20th, we reach one of the other big events of this month, which is Jupiter conjunct Uranus. For you specifically, Aries, this will be happening in your second house. And it's actually quite an interesting day because the conjunction is not the only thing happening. So on this day, the Sun is also entering the sign of Taurus. And on this day, Jupiter and Uranus, as they form their conjunction, are being sextiled by Mars as well. So we have a little bit of that Martian energy too. Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct every 14 years. So what you could do is reflect back on what perhaps happened 14 years ago around this time and see if any of the same themes come up again. However, keep in mind that the last Jupiter and Uranus conjunction was probably in a different sign and in a different house for you personally, so the themes could still be different from each other. But it's more about the feelings or the general approaches could still be reminiscent of 14 years ago. So you've had Jupiter in your second house, Aries, for about a year now, and it's slowly getting ready to leave. So you still have a little bit of time left, but it's on its way out of your second house. So for the last year, you might have been experiencing abundance when it comes to your finances, and you might have been really learning what it means to step into your self-confidence and to show up for yourself. However, you've also had Uranus in your second house for a lot longer than Jupiter has been there as well. So you might have also been experiencing a lot of ups and downs in this area. You might have perhaps been really experiencing the highest of highs when it comes to the amounts you earn at your work or with your career, but at the same time, the lowest of lows with what you earn. And it could be the same with your self-confidence, that you've had moments where you've really felt, yes, I'm showing up for myself. I feel confident. I love who I am becoming. And then you might have also had days where it felt like the lowest when it comes to being confident in yourself. So the way I see this conjunction in your second house, Aries, it's almost as if the two planets are coming together and having a conversation and saying, okay, what did you learn? And what did I learn? And how can we bring those two together? So it's almost as if you're being asked to analyze the feelings, the amazingness of the highest highs and the lowest lows, and to almost form your own philosophy and your own understanding in this area of your life. You know, because we're talking about your finances, I almost imagine this sort of idea of, okay, you've experienced what it's like to have a lot of money. You've experienced what it's like to have no money. And because of that, you realize at the end of the day, money just amplifies what you feel inside. At the end of the day, what's really important to work on is your inner world and having that joy and happiness from within. Just a day later, on the 21st, the sun inches a little bit closer into Taurus, and as it does that, it squares Pluto. So Pluto has just entered your 11th house earlier in this year, and if you're actually looking to explore a little bit more of what Pluto in your 11th house means for you, I'll leave the link for the Pluto horoscopes right here so you can check them out. However, you've been really exploring what it means to find your power and your leadership in your community, with your friendships, what it means to find a group of people that you're working with towards a common goal or a common philosophy. And now that the sun is in your second house and it's squaring Pluto, I almost see this tension of your self-confidence and how it shows up in these groups that you're part of. It's almost as if there's something happening within the communities you're part of or the groups that you're part of that are really requiring you to step up to the plate, to really speak up, show your leadership qualities. And that could perhaps be triggering some parts of you that haven't completely healed and that don't completely believe in yourself and all of the beautiful leadership qualities that you have. On April 24th, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 8th house. So the full moon means that the moon is in your 8th house and the sun in your 2nd house. The sun is shining a light on the moon, perhaps revealing some new insights about the way you rely on others, all of the ways that you might sometimes display codependent behaviors on others that are maybe holding you back from truly stepping into your own power and into your own self-confidence. On April 28th, we have Mars conjunct Neptune in your 12th house. So Mars has slowly been moving through your 12th house. It hit Saturn, and now it's hitting Neptune. And it will soon also enter your 1st house. But before we get into that, let's talk about the Mars and Neptune conjunction in your 12th house. After Mars hit Saturn, and it perhaps felt like there was a stop to its action. It couldn't go anywhere. It couldn't do what it wanted to do. It was asked to slow down. It was asked to be more patient and slow. Now that it's hitting Neptune, it's a completely different energy. Neptune expands. Neptune thinks higher and loftier, and it thinks really expansive ideas about the connection of all of us, about consciousness, about humanity, about how we're all connected. And now that we have Mars and Neptune conjunct together, especially in your 12th house, it's almost as if you are really working within you to think about actions that you want to take to make your lofty ideas of the future come to reality. And again, this is happening in your 12th house, so you might not see a very external manifestation of it, but you're definitely being concerned with it or thinking about it internally at least. We end off the month on April 30th with both Venus and Mars entering their homes. So Mars enters Aries, where it feels at home, and Venus enters Taurus, where it also feels at home. So it's actually a really interesting way to end off the month because we've had a lot of strong energies. We've had eclipses, we've had Mars and Saturn conjunct together, we've had Jupiter and Uranus conjunct together. I really see this returning of Mars and Venus to their homes as being able to finally take a sigh of relief at the end of the month and say, whew, okay, this is starting to feel a little bit more normal. Things are not turned upside down anymore. And you might feel like your expression of your anger and also your expression of your loving nature finds its natural balance again. And it feels a bit more natural and a bit more in the flow. So overall, Aries, it's a really intense month. And especially for you, you have a lot happening in your first house. So for you especially, it could feel like there's a lot going on. I really encourage you to lean onto the habits that you've developed to take care of yourself, whether taking care of yourself physically, but as well, really importantly, taking care of your internal world emotionally and mentally as well. I know you got this, Aries. Let me know down in the comments if you're looking forward to April. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Make sure you subscribe so that you can catch the May horoscope as well. I hope to see you again soon.